The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
If you're building or buying or selling a home, the Real Estate Crew's got news for you at the Real Estate House Party.
With attorney Rick Carter,
Real Estate House Party.
paralegal Kathy Holtshouser,
Real Estate House Party. Come in, have fun.
and comedian Tony V. Now, here's real estate attorney Rick Carter.
Welcome and thanks for joining us today on the Real Estate House Party. We have a great guest. Thank you, first of all, thank you two for showing up. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you had a 1 game suspension from us, so
Yeah. Well, I had
you had a 2 game suspension.
2 game suspension.
Yeah.
Rick, I like your hat.
Oh, you like my hat?
Yeah.
I got the Charlestown run.
I know. I got one too.
Right.
Should we?
Kathy, I have to say, I was at the Charlestown run.
I saw you.
Watching you all. And
How
you looked the best out of everybody.
Oh, you're really,
Yeah.
you're really
Oh.
sucking up today. You're really sucking up.
I am.
What do you need?
Still look good, too.
What do you need? A refinance done or something?
No, I'm
Was
good. I'm
Rick
not going
crawling
with it.
up the hill?
Yeah.
'Cause
Rick did not look his best.
No.
at the road race. Well, I'm going to just start this. So me and Rick.
Can we introduce?
Oh, Felicia. Hi,
Yeah.
Felicia.
Hi, Felicia.
everyone.
How are you?
I'm
And
great.
Felicia wants us to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
to herself.
Well-
Why don't we get this little
Yeah.
skit out of the way?
Yes.
And you can just sit there and laugh.
And Felicia, if that happens, you'll be the first guest that ever asked that question and had it taken seriously.
I hope we don't get there.
Yeah, we won't.
So the turn in the job market is doing. No, all right. Go ahead.
So Felicia works at Classified Realty Group,
Yes,
right?
I do.
And
Yep.
you guys are in North Reading?
We have offices in
We just
Reading
jumped
and
right
North
into
Reading.
that.
Oh, okay.
And then we kind
We
of
gotta know
expand
where
out
she's
from there. And I live in Boston, so
Oh.
anywhere north of the city.
I'm surprised she could tell you where it was.
Yeah.
It seems classified.
It is classified.
That's above your pay grade.
How am I doing so far? Did I answer? well?
Yeah, that's amazing. So
Now you guys aren't the norm because you guys are still. it's
Where
not
do you
a-
work?
not a-
Classified.
not a-
If you don't want to tell me, don't tell me. No, I'm telling you. Classified. Yeah, but where do you work? Classified. Okay, don't tell me then.
You're revving up for the
I'm
Who
ready.
concert.
Yes.
well, I want to tell about the
Race.
road race first.
Okay, go ahead.
So, like Rick's family.
This is
and
not
my
going to be
family,
complimentary. I know
It
that.
is.
We
You
get
know that.
together on Father's Day to run the Bunker Hill road race, and it's a 5K. And we're all lining up, and me and Rick typically run together, and we talk each other out of we talk about work and stuff, and it kind of makes the miles go by.
Yep.
So 1 second before the,
I was ready for the national anthem.
I know, me too. But 1 second
I tied
before
my
the
shoe.
gun went
Yeah.
off, Rick decides to bend over in a crowd of 1,000 and tie
I
his
almost
shoe.
got mauled.
Oh my gosh.
I
And,
looked
and
like
I was like, "What are you doing?" Because it just went pop, and everyone just started coming at us, and I had no choice to keep going, or I would have been trampled.
Right.
it was like the Bulls in Spain. I thought I was going
Right.
to, and
But I
got some
kind of
of
looked down to think that he could rebound, but his shoe was completely untied, and I go, I'm out of here, right? So
You know-
I ran it all by myself.
And you look great.
Yeah, so
you
thank
look
you.
finished
What is
strong.
What's up? What do you need?
I don't need anything.
All right.
Yeah. No, he doesn't need
tell the
anything.
You guys
truth.
miss each other?
And let me
Yeah.
also say this. Years ago in Charlestown, if you heard a gun go off, it'd go the opposite direction.
That's why they don't do the
would
guns
run,
anymore.
Right,
I
you would
know.
run the other way.
Felicia's in Charlestown.
Charlestown.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely a fun day.
Yeah, it's a great day.
It is a
Your
fun day.
wife let me park
At the theater,
in her
at the
spot.
theater, yeah, yeah.
And when I got back to the spot, I realized it was a great spot until I couldn't get out.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't get out?
No, because
Oh,
the
because
parade
they had
was
already
going.
blocked it. What time did you leave?
I don't know.
Oh, we were only kidding, too. That's not their spot. We just wanted to usually rolls for this one.
But it was worse because I was aggravated because I wanted to leave, and
Right.
Stu's dawdling, and the kids are, want to stop here and want to stop
Right,
there.
right,
I go, I'll just see you guys later.
Yeah, you
'Cause
either have to get out before the parade.
So I'm
you have to.
like walk running
Right.
to my car, and then I get there, and I'm like, oh, I can't get out anyway because of the parade. But I also didn't have my car keys.
Wow.
Two things.
A lot of issues
Wow,
there.
that was, wow.
And I'm like, damn.
Felicia's saying, I don't want to deal with this attorney's office.
You know,
And
I do better at closing.
And she
Felicia.
does the books for the office, too?
in the later stage of my parents' life, right? I used to go get them. They lived in Medford, and I'd bring them in for the festivities for the parade that goes right by my house. And, as they got older, time didn't mean anything to them because they were old.
Yeah.
And so I'd say to my dad, look, I got to pick you up at 10:30, blah, blah, blah. We got to get in before they close the roads, and I got to find a parking space. So anyway, I go to pick them up. They had gone to 10 o'clock mass. They couldn't, I couldn't get them in time. And I even knew the cop, but he wouldn't let me cross the barrier. I couldn't, and so I couldn't do anything. So I set up chairs where we were and sat my parents in them. And then Sal DiDomenico, state senator, right? He's got one of the trolleys and he's marching in front of it.
It's a very political.
And they pull up in front of us and I go, hey, Sal, do you mind giving me a ride to the house? So he goes, no, hop on. So he has all his helpers come out, help my mother and my dad onto the bus. And we did the last third of the parade. And I said to my mother, I said, the only thing you're in the parade now, you got to wave. And my mother's out the window waving. She's like 92 waving and everything.
That's awesome.
Then the bus went up my house, my street. They stopped the whole parade, helped my parents out, and we went in the house.
It's that kind of parade.
It's that kind of parade.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, Felicia didn't want me to ask 1,000 questions. I'd talk about the time we got in a traffic jam down in Florida because there's a big parade going on.
Not me. I wasn't there.
And they circumvented us, and I took a left, and when everyone else was taking a right.
Right.
Needless to say, I ended up in the parade in our car.
Oh, in the car, in the parade.
In the car, yeah.
Wow, that's right out of Easy Rider.
That's Rick's big claim to fame. So he was in the
That's
parade.
my whole claim to fame. I was in the parade at the wrong time.
All you can do in that situation is wave.
Yeah,
That's all you can do. How you doing?
Smile.
I said my brother-in-law it was a St. Patty's Day parade. I said, do you got anything green in the sky? We got to fake it a little bit. We had a green cooler, so we started racing.
What kind of car was it? Was it a rental?
No, it was actually, we drove down.
Oh,
so yeah. But then we finally heard someone in the crowd, I don't think they're supposed to be in the parade.
Really?
Really? You got Felicia, we got a lot of questions to ask you.
Oh, boy.
So where do we start? So
want to get some background?
Sure, go ahead.
You're the interviewer, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how long have you been a real estate agent?
Classified.
I've been a real estate agent for 6 years.
Wow.
But I grew up around the business. I work with my mom.
It's your family
It's
office.
a family.
okay.
So I've been sitting outside of houses and beeping the horn, waiting for my mom to come up from appointments since
Need
I
a
was a
ride.
little kid. Yes, exactly. But 6 years actually.
Oh,
Sally.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
You want to give a shout out to your mother, or are we going to see how the show
Why
goes
does she?
first?
She's not here.
Good
She doesn't
point.
get
Good
credit.
She
point.
didn't get the invite.
Let's not take the whole family
When
down.
she shows up, she can have her little shout out. How's that?
Felicia will change her name instead of Tony V. It'll be Felicia G. So she
yeah.
doesn't take the family down.
Go
on
into
that.
Oh.
I'll go into witness protection at some point.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys it's not a boutique, but you guys are a rarer breed these days because you're not being consumed by the bigger offices out there. You guys must get approached by that every once in a while.
So not me. That would be my mom, but
yeah.
certainly. But we obviously it's a small independent, and it's just a different feel. I think I've never worked anywhere else, but I imagine it's just different.
I like working. Your office is great to work with.
Classified keeps popping up everywhere.
Stay that way.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
We will.
That's Tony's advice.
Don't be seduced by the big money.
All right.
It's a hollow promise.
Tell Felicia about your idea about selling your property. You want to sell it.
I want here's my idea.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah. I'll sell you my property. But I live in it until I die, and then you get it.
Yeah.
So what you've done is hedged your bet that the property value is going to go up.
I'm interested, so
Yeah,
I'm
I
an
like that.
interested buyer. If
Right.
you want to talk afterwards.
Now you live in Charlestown.
Yes.
Like, where do you live?
So I just sold my house actually, and we just moved to the Navy Yard, but we were on Medford
We
Street.
know the Navy Yard.
My mother's in the Navy Yard.
Yeah.
What's the name of her building?
I don't know. You don't let me go there anymore. One day I acted up, and that was
it's
it.
on First Street.
Okay.
251st Street. It's
I think my son Ryan's still there.
yeah.
You ever go to
I forget the name. It's a huge building.
There are some really nice buildings over
yeah.
there. Ours isn't as nice. It's full of studios. It's not.
Yeah,
not
no,
great,
hers
but-
is great. It's
And
so
yours is less than $4,500 a month.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Have you been to the Style Cafe yet?
No.
Oh, down on at the end of 8th Street for breakfast.
Oh, it's good.
Fantastic.
Huh? Okay, well,
at the end of 8th Street, so that's right near my mother in the Navy Yard, right?
It used to be the old Bigger Breads. It's right on the water. It's nice.
Is it down by the pier or no?
It's off the pier a little bit. Okay. It's in the probably in the the big building.
It's in. So it's not a standalone.
It's not a standalone. Yeah.
Now Felicia has the rights to your house down the road.
Yeah.
She wants you to load up on the donuts when you go to that breakfast spot.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you have a heart attack.
She wants it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's mean. That's mean advice, Rick.
I didn't think it. Felicia's been prepping. She's been saying, "Don't forget to talk about this. Don't forget."
Load up on the donuts, Tony. You know what? Can I give you a piece of advice? If anyone tells you to load up on the donuts, you should be very suspicious.
Yeah. Okay.
No stranger to a donut.
So do you go to Pier? Is it Pier 6?
Pier 6.
Yeah.
Yes, we go there frequently. It's
do I,
really good, and it's just easy. It's right there. And it's a pretty view, and it's great.
That thing's been about 9 different restaurants.
Well, it was the
Tavern
on the Water.
Tavern on the Water, and then it was Pier something else.
But when it was the Tavern on the Water, it was a dump.
Yeah.
Do you remember? It was.
That must have been a while
Pier
ago.
6
didn't slow you down at all from going there.
No, it didn't.
Sounds like
I like dives. I'm not picky.
I had one of the kids' christenings there.
Yeah,
it was very nice.
Yeah, in the background.
I can't.
Can you narrow it down?
No, I only got 2. I got a 50-50 shot. It was the one that was little at the time.
Wait, I want to talk to you about Gus.
What happened to Gus?
Did he perform at the?
What is in that coffee?
The
you
comedy
are buzzing around here.
Gus is killing it. Yeah. He was at the benefit for the theater. But then he got booked at Nick's Comedy Stop.
Yes, that was amazing.
Which is the oldest continuous running comedy club in Boston.
Yeah.
And a club I worked 35 years ago.
Now, did he already perform?
He did. He was there Friday night. They hired him back.
Oh my God! When I saw that, I was like, yeah.
And then this.
So I wonder if he can come back on our show.
Sure.
I want to hear his stuff.
Yeah. And then this Saturday, I'm doing a show.
See when Tony V's son's on.
If Gus is the son, I'm
Gus is my son. Yeah,
it's like a stereo.
And he looks kind of like him, but he has a different color hair.
Yeah.
So the two of them sit on either end.
Blonde or what color?
He's
lighter.
Not gingery, but not blondie. Somewhere in the
Auburn? He's light.
Auburn, perhaps?
No, just lighter. Than you.
So he looks like a negative of me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. I get it now.
Like him. But the two of them go back and forth with me and Rick like this.
So you know what we'll do? We'll have you and your mom on at the same time. Me and Kathy can really watch this thing go.
And then Saturday, June 29th, I'm doing a show in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Oh.
At the Palace Theater, Tony V and Friends.
629.
And it'll be Augustus, young Augustus
we got to go to
Johnson Viveris.
That's this weekend.
Carolyn
That's
Plummer. This
Saturday.
It's myself, Carolyn Plummer, Corey Rodriguez, and Brad Mastrangelo.
What time does it start?
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
I might have to.
Tony V and Friends.
She's taking notes over
here.
So we can go then? We're friends.
I'd love to have you. Let me know. I'll get you tickets.
The
I can get you in.
I'm away, but I might come back for it.
Yeah. It's right in Manchester.
We had Brad Mastrangelo on the show, and he said, for sale by owner. Who else would be selling your house?
It's a good point.
Good point.
What do you think about for sale by owners?
I think that we're worth the money. That's what I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think you get more. You get more for your
right.
house if you let someone market it. But I think sometimes people think they can do it better.
I think they have no concept of what's involved these days.
They don't.
With
and
disclosures.
Well, 30 years ago, it may have been a good idea, right?
I never. Maybe. Yes.
Because everything wasn't so convoluted. But now there's so many personalities and so many. Everyone's an expert at this, even though they're not really. And
our last closing, we had a lot of personalities in that room.
We did. We had a big personality
we had
day.
a lot of personalities. Mm-hmm. So, but you're right. I don't think that would have been gone as well if that was for sale by owner. Disclosures.
And working as a buffer, I think sometimes. Like you're that middleman that doesn't actually let either side know what the other one's saying.
You guys know what the market's going on. So
and typically you're the agent that's working with you, the buyer's agent or the listing agent, you guys have worked together, or you're both professionals and you both have a high level of professionalism, so you guys can handle
each other,
ward off different problems together.
Right.
And that's kind of what the buyer's attorney does and the seller's attorney. Yeah.
And that's what happened when I sold my own house. I backed away after so I listed it, and then we got to the home inspection, and I had to back. My mom handled everything, but I just couldn't.
And we can't say where she works either, right?
Classified. It's not meant to be that way. You know, it's your home. You think it's great. It's not.
Listen, that is I got to say, that's the best possible of all worlds, to have a knowledgeable mother be your representative.
Yeah,
she wants you taken care of on every level.
Yeah,
for free.
I had a knowledgeable.
You're right.
You were my attorney when I sold and bought, and
Ricardo Law is the best.
Oh my God!
And the backbone of that organization
would be
the paralegal.
Really? What's her name again?
Except when she's selling and buying
a house, right?
Right, when it's you, it's different.
Right, then she's a basket
relative.
Yeah.
Or a
Think
relative.
of it this way. Look, you could stitch yourself up after a knife fight, but a doctor would do it better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because for years
true.
they'd be going, "Ooh, that's an ugly scar. You should have had a doctor.
It still opens up every once in a while.
Myself.
Can Felicia use that on her marketing
I'm
program?
going to.
Of course.
Thank you for that.
Do you want to stitch yourself?
Everything I say here is public domain.
I do always use the analogy that it's like going to the doctor. Like when I sit down with first-time buyers, I always say to them, imagine you're at the doctor. You have to advocate for yourself because they don't really care that you don't feel well.
Right.
You have to tell them what's wrong with
you. Don't feel well.
And it's the same with real estate. Tell them what you want, what you need, whether it's the attorney, the lender,
It's a
all those
lot of
people.
money.
Sure.
It's a lot of money.
Right.
But
Speak up.
if you're paying that much money, you're going to get, you know what I mean? You get what you're paying
Exactly.
for.
So sex the same way.
We're listening.
No one else laughed? Not a joke? Oh.
State your needs. State your needs. And pay good money.
You know what? You're right.
That's all I'm saying. There was nothing tawdry about it.
And don't do it with the owner, right?
And don't do it by yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Wow, that was good.
Because you won't get paid.
You won't get paid. No.
I don't think I'll use that one. Okay.
Smart girl.
It's like a poo-poo platter. You take what you like. You know what I mean? You don't want the ribs, you turn the plate. That's all.
Could she use that one?
Yes.
Okay. I'm taking notes over here.
You take the ones you want.
So
we missed this last week because I talked for a half hour on mortgage insurance.
Wow. Snooze.
It must have been really fun.
Thank God Ed Sullivan was here. So, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we
Did you have a guest? Or is it
I just talked a half hour about
No, it was Lou Chinapi.
Lou Chinapi did come in.
Too.
So,
what does he do?
He was fine. So we talked.
He's a mortgage
works at mortgage insurance. Arch insurance. So you work with a lot of millennials, and we talk about millennials like they're Martians. So
I know.
So don't get this.
Good millennials and bad millennials.
They're mostly bad, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which it's a lot.
I'm one of them, so I can say
I
that.
have three of them.
Yeah.
They're right on the cusp.
Did you know by the year 2030, there will be more old people than young people?
Really?
Yeah, baby boomers will we're
outlasting
everybody, and people aren't having as many kids. So that for the first time in history, there will be more old people in this country than young people.
Wow.
That's an interesting 2030.
That's what they say.
Okay.
I'm hoping to be here by then.
Yeah, we'll be here.
We'll be here.
We'll be sitting here.
I was on the phone with my insurance company yesterday.
Yeah.
Just a sidelight, of course. And
of course,
I'm a sucker. I'll talk to anybody. You know me. So there was a prompt in the the press 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
If you're over 50, we have a special deal for you today. And I go, oh, it's my insurance. Maybe they're going to save me money. So I hit 1, and the fast talking lady comes on. She goes, good afternoon. Are you over 50? And I go, yes. She goes, you qualify for a free medical alert pendant. And I go, what century are you calling from? Where do you live, ma'am, that 50-year-olds are tumbling over in great numbers? 50-year-olds run marathons and companies.
Yeah.
Well, sir, I'm just saying, if there's a medical emergency, I go, you know what? My pendant would go off 4 times a day because I'm napping. Oh, your button went off. Yeah, I'm on the couch. It went horizontal. That's what happened.
Wouldn't you be loved to be a salesman calling the Tony V's residence?
Yeah.
You're not getting quite what you want. Right?
No, and once you introduce logic to them, they I'm completely off the script.
Didn't you tell some sales lady she called in and said, if you keep talking, I'm going to shoot myself.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes.
And then he
Put the phone down.
He put the phone down, and then he made some gunshots.
Yeah.
And then,
Wow.
That's a little extreme.
No, the best one was when there was a closed account like for an old phone.
yeah.
And I think I owed them $13.75.
They're going to report you.
And so they called. They had a collection agency call me.
Oh yeah.
And I was very polite, and I said, I'm very sorry. This seems to be an oversight, and it's my wife that usually handles this kind of thing. Just give me a minute. So I put the phone down. My wife wasn't even in the house, and I start screaming, "You bitch! You did it to me again! If you ruin my credit, I'm going to ruin your neck! You think that one black eye's enough?" And I go back to the phone, and
That's awesome.
never heard from him again.
That's
Never
cool.
heard from him again.
They said, "All right, let's write this one off as paid."
Saved yourself $13.
I had my doctor's office call me because they said, we have a collection agency going
Didn't
after
they say you couldn't make an appointment because you
No. It was
boy.
just a I guess they go through their list and they said, we might have to have a collection agency after you. I go, well, it must be an oversight. How much do I owe you? They said, well, it's the $5 copay. You didn't pay last time. I said, let me get this straight. You're really going to have a collection agency after this $5? So, yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, Brigham and Women's is going to go under if they don't get their $5.
back.
I mean, they probably didn't even tell me about it.
Right.
I mean, whatever. So
That's
Listen,
their fault because they should have collected it when you went.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
Listen, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Rick owes us $5. We're
Well,
locking
the
up.
golf course
Well,
might be a different
but I have
scene.
these chest pains. I have
Sorry.
these serious chest pains.
Take it up with Carter Law. That
Do you have $5 yet or not?
I'll give you the $5. Nope, we need it from him.
So before we started this show, I was talking to Felicia.
Oh, did we start the show?
Wait, we have a show?
I told you. But I was asking her, like,
We have a lot of questions too, so go ahead.
I was asking her, like, if she used, like, an
Does it seem
admin.
like Kathy's dominating the questions today?
She's been missing.
I know, you're right.
She's trying to reestablish herself.
Yeah. How was
If we were animals, she'd be walking around us peeing.
Oh, not a good visual, all right?
Yikes.
That's why I said if we were animals. I'm not saying we would do that behavior. That's silly.
It's like a mating call. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So, Felicia.
You know what they do? You know what they do? You know what they do in
See, this
beaches
is
as
what
a mating
happens.
call?
Beaches?
Is frisbee. I see. It's like a mating type.
Oh,
of
like
Someone
an
throws you a frisbee, you're
Right.
like,
They all
if I
play-
catch it,
No,
do
they
I
just
have
all
to
kinda-
play?
No, if it goes near you and you know.
Yeah. It just seems like. But I digress.
Right.
Sorry.
So
about
what
that.
I wanted to know
Sorry,
was...
could you move your pelvis so I could get my frisbee?
So what I
Your
wanted
pelvis seems to be in the way of my frisbee.
These guys are wicked. So do you do all your own? You start your file from start to finish. You don't hand it off to anybody, and there's
No.
a reason you do that, right?
Yeah, so we stick with people all the way through. We definitely have support. So we have some admin support if we
Yeah.
need it. They scan all the checks and things like that. But yeah, I like to stay with people through the whole process if I can. And I've noticed that if I try to hand people off, it doesn't always go well. Even if
you
the
were
other
going to
person's
Spain last time, and you were still worried about.
Italy, yeah. And
Italy, yeah.
And I had someone
You
cover
had
for
have
me.
a panic attack about
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yes.
But still, they want you. They hired
Yeah,
you. You know.
yeah,
Well,
So
it happens in our.
Yes.
And what I've noticed is somebody that hires Rick as a buyer's attorney, and he does the purchase and sale work. I feel like we get a better relationship as. You know what I mean? So he knows, like,
Right.
Alyssa. He deals with
Yes.
Alyssa, and then he hands Alyssa off to me, and she's still getting good care.
Right.
Yeah.
But like when we just get a bank loan, like a lender just sends us a random buyer, so a purchase, and we haven't even established a rapport with the buyer. It doesn't seem to go as well. Do you agree with that?
I do. Yeah.
And I think that's what's interesting. We were talking about millennial buyers, and I do work with them a lot, but I show them a lot of houses. And most of the time when I get started, I'll sit down with them and have a meeting with them that lasts about an hour or two, depending on how many questions they have. So I'm friends with them by the
Yes.
time
Well, I've
they
heard
get
that,
there.
yeah.
You know?
Can we ask you some of the questions they ask? Because I think we're under the misconception. I always think the millennials are all over everything. They've Googled everything, but a lot of them don't seem as well coached as
Yes
that.
and no.
You know,
right?
the hard part about millennials is the parents, to be totally
Oh,
honest.
yeah.
So,
The
yeah, the parents. So I like
yeah.
to bring the parents up at the first meeting and say that they play a really big role in the whole thing. And if they have questions or there are things that you're worried about them getting involved in, we need to talk about it now.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I also tell them that they need to see the house if possible before we get our offer accepted so that they don't squash the deal once it's time for the inspection.
that's
That is great
happened.
news.
That's
Yeah,
happened
sure.
a couple
That's a
of
good idea.
times.
So you actually bring the parents in. You nip that in the bud.
And I bring it up at the beginning. If your mom and dad will be involved in the process, let's discuss it now and how they'll be
That's a great
involved.
idea.
And we can't have them coming to the home inspection and then saying this place sucks.
Right,
you know, we
right.
need to
No,
know
right,
that they
right.
think it sucks last week.
Right.
So
But I don't even know.
that's
I don't
being on
even know
top of
why
things. That's
parents
great.
are involved in the millennials'
Yeah.
decision to buy a house.
sometimes it's their money.
Okay,
They're giving them
Yeah.
so
the
if
down
it's not
payment
their
or whatever.
money, if it's not
it's
their
not-
money, they still get involved because they're the helicopter parents.
Right.
I'm one of them, so
yeah, I
I'm
know.
not.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not knocking
No,
it.
but not really.
And you are too.
No, but we're talking about the parents that bought in the 1950s.
Well,
Right.
that's
Where they
the
bought it
thing.
for $6,000,
Exactly.
and they're shocked that
Exactly.
someone's buying a $750,000 house.
So I bring that up too. I'll say, I don't know the last time your parents purchased property, but it's very different
It
now.
has
And let me tell
changed.
you why. And
Yeah.
you should tell them this because it's not the same thing. And
Yeah.
so the biggest difference, I think, is that they think that after the inspection, they're going to ask for $20,000.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
well, my mom and dad said you make the offer here and then you bring it down.
My dad says.
Yeah.
My dad
Yes,
said.
and it's not the way. It's not how it's going right now. There are 5 people standing behind you waiting
Right,
Yeah,
for
right,
that
take
house.
it or leave it.
So
Right,
you don't
right.
have that,
Yeah.
and they think you do because their dad said that you can
Right,
get $20,000.
You know,
So
yeah, my daughter, Cecilia, she's the other one. I just remembered
do you have,
that.
2?
Yeah, I have 2. I just remembered she's the other one, Cecilia.
Gus and Cecilia.
Gus and Cecilia. And she's a summertime RA at the new school in New
Yeah.
York. She's just turned 19. But she's got to deal with all these, issues. She got a 24-hour period where she's got to deal with people trying to get into the dorm that don't have IDs. And, so that's her deal. And she had a 26-year-old drunk woman who she couldn't let in because she went to a bar with her sister. And the sister left with some guy and said, just go back to my dorm. But she couldn't get in because she didn't have a thing. And my daughter's, who's got a patch on her eye and a boot.
Oh, yeah.
So
And she's 19 years
and
old.
she's 19 years old. And the woman actually said to her, the 26-year-old, she goes, I'm going to wait till I tell my mother how you're treating me. And Cecilia said to her, wait till I tell my mother how you're treating me.
Or my
and
father.
And she goes, I know my mother. Your mother does not want to tangle with mine.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. At 26, can you imagine?
Well, my 25-year-old called me. I'm in Maine, and he's down the Cape, and he says, because he had to go to the Cape, of course, right?
Sure, you got to go.
Have
He
some
wants
fun.
to know.
Cape Coast.
He wants to know what to do because his car won't start.
Yeah.
If I was 25, I was married, and
Yeah.
called my mother, she wouldn't even take my call.
Yeah.
And said, my car. I go, I'm sorry to hear that, honey. I don't know what to
Well,
tell you.
I think some of it's just comforting that they told somebody who cares about them. Do they have AAA?
Yeah,
Well,
we pay for it.
there's the answer.
No, they have triple K. she drove down.
Well, then, no,
No,
I
you
didn't.
did?
Not then, but when he got his car fixed, we had it towed up to our
Right.
mechanic. And I said, oh, good news, your car is ready. I'm going to run down
And pick it up.
pick up your car. And then I'm going to drive it down. And he goes, well, tonight's not good for me because I have a boxing class.
Oh, sure.
So
Well,
I'm like, well,
you should have led with that. That's a good reason then. All right.
Yeah, you made it sound like
excuse.
you made it sound like
this is
there was
the
no
height
good
of
reason.
millennials, right?
It is.
Right.
And I said, well, tonight is really the only night that's good for me. So wait, maybe we could meet in the middle or
Right.
something. And he figured it out.
Kathy's watering it down. That's not how she was talking to her 25-year-old.
Listen, your mommy is a very busy
She said,
woman.
you loser, I am not doing this. Is it tough working with your mother at work?
No, we
No.
don't see each other all that often because we're always on the move.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I work mostly out of the Reading office, and she's in North
Yeah,
Reading.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
part of the reason
That's
we did
even
it that way.
Oh, okay.
That's
So,
great.
yeah, we're separate.
Yeah.
We don't.
But
see
I
each other
think
that much.
millennials have a nice relationship with their parents for the most part, like because they've been managing their life this whole way, like you know what I mean.
Right.
So I feel like my whole house of millennials we all get along for the
Right,
most part.
right.
Once they do what I say, and that's
Once they realize that you're actually in charge.
yeah, I'm the alpha.
You're the alpha.
Well, they are still in charge. I think that's part of it. The
Yeah.
parents are still in charge
Right.
of
Yeah.
the children, so that's why when they go to
No,
buy
it's a
the
good
house,
suggestion. You actually
Right.
talk to the parents. So once you've nipped that in the bud, then how is it with the millennials? Do they have a lot of information, or are they lacking a lot of information?
It really depends, but if they do have information, it's typically what you were saying. They've Googled something
Yes.
and
Ron.
they read somewhere on Zillow that
Because
this
I
is.
find they don't have any clue.
They don't, but they'll
sorry.
no, they don't. But they'll say, "Oh, I've been using this mortgage calculator online,
Yes,
and I've
right.
been doing."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's never the accurate information.
Of course
Right.
not.
So they have information, but it's not usually
So they
correct.
need you.
Yeah.
They
But-
need you to
yes.
set them straight.
They do.
But that's the problem. Nobody has any real knowledge. They just we've outsourced our knowledge to our
Right,
our
exactly.
ass pocket.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll figure that out.
To our
Here's how-
VA.
Yeah, and it's you still have to have a working
and they think they
knowledge
have
of
all
how
the
things-
information,
right.
but they've been doing studies, and they show the biggest regrets of the millennials after they buy, and it's some very common things. You know, they didn't know the house size wasn't going to fit their needs,
Right.
or either too big or too small. The biggest one is they didn't know costs associated with owning a house.
That's an interesting thing that seems to keep coming up
Yes.
too. Is that I have to pay for taxes
Yes.
too, or there's a fee.
So that's the
or,
biggest regret
Right,
they're saying millennials
or
have.
closing costs. So
Yeah,
many times
yeah,
they
yeah.
say I have to pay closing costs. They
Yeah.
had no
But
idea.
even at the
Yeah.
end of the closing process, they still have an oil
Right.
tank to fill up. They have the
Landscaping.
landscaping,
Right.
and if there's a beautiful pool, they need maintenance on that.
Right.
And they forget how much electric's going to cost. If you buy a huge house, it's
Exactly.
going to be $200 or
Right,
$300 a month or whatever. You know what I wanted to ask you as
Yeah.
far as costs go? Sometimes we have like clients who will say, "No, I don't need owner's title insurance." And it's the same real estate agent
I scoff at them.
over and over
Yeah.
again. I don't know how all their clients don't want owner's title
Well,
insurance.
Don't you think that's expectations? It's the same with
Well,
when
it's-
they go to get an attorney. I always say to them, it's the best money you can spend
Right,
because if I were buying a house, I do this every day and I still need an attorney.
Right,
you
right.
you can't do this yourself. But
Right.
I think if you don't set that expectation, they think they're covered. They think that they
Well,
don't.
Right.
we think
But it's interesting. Like, I would never give that advice.
Right, so
this
maybe
is
someone's
your
saying that.
option.
because
This
if
is your
if you
option.
give that advice and then you're selling that house in 5 years,
Guess who's
Right.
getting the call?
Right.
there is a title problem. Felicia, you told me I didn't need owner's title insurance. What is this all about?
Well, I think that's the market that we're in, though,
I
is that
know.
there are a lot of agents or a lot of buyers that just want to do things quickly
Right,
and
right.
just make it happen rather than slowing it down.
Or don't worry about that home inspection.
Right.
Well,
don't-
we
you don't need-
we had one.
Oh,
the
we had
home
one.
the woman bought the house.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
buying the house, and she waived her home inspection, or she
Yeah.
had her uncle go over, and he said it's fine. Well,
Who was also a plumber and an electrician.
Exactly.
or just an uncle. He was just an uncle.
He was a good uncle, though.
Great guy.
Didn't
Great
drink
guy.
during the day.
Or maybe
not
he
all
did.
days.
Maybe he did.
Not every day.
because
Not every day.
she moved into the property, and the furnace didn't work.
So I'm getting the calls, and because I was the closing attorney, and they
Right.
said, "Well, the furnace doesn't work." I said, "Well, what did the home inspector say?" "Well, I didn't have a home inspector because the originator told me I didn't need to have
Yeah.
a home inspector."
The home inspection is such a hard piece of it because
I know.
I always tell people, especially first-time buyers, that they need one.
Yeah.
And then I went and bought a house and I didn't have one. So I'm a little
Well,
bit
it
of a
is what it
hypocrite.
is.
Right.
It is what it is.
So I think if you...
The one in Charlestown, you bought it.
Yeah. I mean,
But did
it's
you
been
do it for
standard.
informational purposes?
No, I
You
didn't
just
do
did
it at all.
Was it a newer building?
It's
or an
old.
older?
It's been there since 1800. It's connected on both
You
sides.
seem
How
like
bad can
you
it be?
seem like a roll of the dice type
It's
of
just,
person. I
how
know
bad
that.
could it
well,
go?
honestly, is if they tell you that the electricity isn't up to code
I'm
or
not doing
whatever.
anything about it
exactly.
anyway.
Were you not going to buy the house
Right.
with that information?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Nothing was going to change your mind. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And so I think as long
Now,
as
who's crying now? As you ran to the bank after selling that Charlestown house.
yeah.
After two, look at she's still beaming about that
No.
one. Yeah.
but the thing with that's interesting is, well, do you have enough in reserve to then handle things that come up?
Well,
That's
right.
what I always say to people.
Do you say that to millennials?
Is, yeah. So, okay, we're going to waive the inspection. That's fine. But you need to make sure you have enough in reserve. If
If
the
you need a
roof
new
has a
roof,
problem
right.
or heating, these are big ticket items that you need to be aware of.
Right.
Well, you're the outlier because most originators and most brokers don't bring up extra costs because they don't want to
They don't want to squelch the deal.
Yeah.
Maybe
exactly.
because I'm so young. I've only been doing this for 6 years. I want to do it for 40 more. So
Yeah,
I
no,
can't
that's
be
good.
like putting these deals together and hoping for the best. I need the call back. I
Yeah,
need
yeah,
Because if you don't, get, if they're not willing to go with what you're telling them next, right? You have another client coming down the road that's going to listen to your advice.
Yeah.
And
And I think that's one of the most interesting things. I don't know if it's just with millennials or with everyone, but it's interesting as you gain their trust. Like I've found that a lot of times you miss out on a few houses at the beginning in our market because they don't trust you yet. So you can say, this house is worth between this and this. I would offer this. And they'll say, oh, I'm not doing that. And then after the third time, they say, oh, well, we're going to listen to what you said. But it takes a few times before they get there. I think.
Yeah. Interesting.
do you find that your clients, not just millennials, but your clients have it misconstrued on prices? Like they want the 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2 acres of land, and they only want to pay $500,000 for it.
I think because people search so much online before they get started, that doesn't happen all that often.
What
So
about your
most
sellers?
Sellers, we have trouble with a Zestimate or what Redfin
Yeah.
says. And so you
Zestimate.
have to explain.
Don't get Tony going.
You have to explain to them that this is just a company that's taking all of the data from the surrounding neighborhoods. And so if you live next to a neighborhood that has $2 million houses and your house is in the 500s, it will skew the numbers.
Yep.
So that I think we run into more. Buyers typically have looked for so long
That
online
they have a good feel.
that they know what they
That's
can
the one
and
area they
cannot
seem
afford.
sophisticated
Yeah,
on.
they know.
Because they've seen a million pictures about the house.
Right.
Right.
And the prices and all that.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
I'm exhausted. I need to go take a nap.
Your alert pendant will go off. Once it goes past horizontal.
I know.
This was great. I appreciate you coming on. You're going to have to come back on.
Great show.
Because we
I'll have
have 20 pages that
I'm
we haven't got
interested.
to.
Maybe next time I'll bring a topic. How about that?
Okay.
Do you think we'll be able to answer
I
it?
don't
You
know.
can
Ooh,
try.
I can question you guys.
You can try.
All right.
Now she's getting cocky.
I love that. No one's ever said that. You know what? You're on.
Yeah.
I like
All
a
right,
good
that's a good
challenge.
idea.
Sure.
Great idea.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Let
And you
us
don't
know
have
when you're
to
ready.
give it to us in advance.
Okay.
We're gonna buy it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
Questions,
no.
popcorn questions
I
on the
love-
spot. Yeah, I like
yes.
that.
You can quiz us. That's a great idea.
I love
Do
surprises.
you know when I interviewed at Carter
Oh, here
Law
we go.
Office 30 years ago?
I didn't ask this. Go ahead.
His partner said, "Now, Kathleen, do you know what a municipal lien certificate is?" I was applying for a paralegal position, and I'm like,
No, what was the second question he asked?
"Do you have a car?" And I'm like, "You bleeping idiot! Of course I have a car. How do you think I got here?"
Our bar was pretty low at that point.
the basics.
I'm like, "I have a pulse."
Then you're hired.
You're hired.
I'm sorry, Uber is 20 years away.
30 years
Felicia,
away.
thanks for joining
Thanks
us
so
here on
much
the
for
Real
having
Estate
me.
House Party. Kathy
you.
Holtshouser, the best paralegal extraordinaire. Tony V, thank you. You need to talk about your golf expedition. We'll talk about that
Yeah,
next
it's
week.
another time.
Yeah, another time.
And ooh.
Ooh.
And
What?
the illustrious Rick Carter,
Carter.
real
Stop
estate
it.
attorney.
And now the studio audience is going crazy. Stop it. Sit down. You're starting to embarrass me. Really, please, embarrassing me. See you next week.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.